G'day and welcome back to the channel. Time for some more drone and RC model flying news. This week has been, last week was crap for me health-wise, so let's not go there. But let's get straight to the news because there's some interesting stuff. You recall in New Zealand, in fact, one of my recent videos I pointed out, a guy called Rod Vaughan, a journalist, now dealing in the fake news department, claimed that his microlight had been hit by a drone, probably a drone. It caused it to crash into a field in the New Zealand countryside because it shattered the windscreen, he reckoned. Well, as I said in a video just recently, CAA looked into this. They said, no, there's no sign of a drone. I'm sorry, Mr. Vaughan, you're dreaming. And I suggested that perhaps Mr. Vaughan might like to come along and give us all an apology for basically casting aspersions on the drone and RC model flying community. Well, that didn't happen, did it? No, I actually tried to get an address from Mr. Vaughan. Couldn't find one. I was going to invite him to do an interview, but no, he's gone to ground, except he did interview one of his mates at a local newspaper, and he said that he'd seen the CAA report, but he's still pretty sure it was a drone. So anyway, there you go. But what I want to talk about now is the UK in a place called Winsford. There's been a plane crash. There's been a microlight plane crash, and the pilot of that microlight says that, well, here's the headlines from the what do they call it? The paper concerned is called the Winsford. Oh, I've got to write it down here somewhere, but it's the. I can't find it. I'm sure I wrote it down. Oh yeah, the Winsford and Middlewich Guardian. Okay, excuse me, can't read with my glasses on. But anyway, here is what they had to say. They said a pilot who was forced to crash land his plane in Winsford claims it may have been a drone that collided with his aircraft. Oh dear. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a drone. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't have any of the information. I'm just working from media reports, and as we know, they are full of excrement. So, but this pilot claims, yeah, he was probably hit by a drone. It was a microlight, and again, the windscreen shattered, caused him to make an emergency landing and crash his plane. So many parallels, because, as far as I've been able to find out, there's been no evidence of any drone bits inside his airplane. No evidence at all to point to support his claim that it was probably a drone. No, I'm afraid that the Rod Vaughan disease appears to be spreading around the world. What better way? And I'm not saying this was the case. This is my opinion. This is not any way drawing or casting aspersions on the pilot of this aircraft who wasn't named in the Winsford plane crash. But what better way to claim on your insurance than say, I was hit by a drone, it wasn't my fault, my plane is upended in a paddock and the wheels are bent and the canopy is all smashed. No, it was one of these evil baby-killing drones that people are flying now. It's a good way, isn't it? It removes the burden of responsibility from the pilot to some unknown drone operator, even when the regulators say, it wasn't a drone. So yeah, I think we're going to see more of this. I mean, what better way to shed the burden of responsibility than to blame somebody who can never be tracked down, who can never. And the other thing you've got to ask yourself is, okay, the UK is moving towards compulsory drone registration. Everyone in the UK is going to have to register their craft if they weigh more than 250 grams. Would that have helped? If drones were registered, would that have helped track down the cause of this crash? No, it would not have. Okay, so even if it was a drone, no bits have been recovered, no sign of a drone, so how would you know, even if it was registered, who was flying the drone, if there was one? And interestingly enough, I think we get a feel for the direction of the media again, that half the story is talking about this pilot's crash and his blaming drones. And then the other half of the story is regurgitating all that stuff about Gatwick and how drones are a menace to aircraft and how we have to have more tougher rules. So biased, so prejudiced, so obviously oriented to vilify drones. It's like, really, seriously, this is the biggest problem that we as a community have to deal with, is a media that has completely lost sight of the principles of the fourth estate. Absolutely lost sight of it. It's run amok. It's gone wild. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's enough of that. He was apparently flying at 1,000 feet when this happened, but he has no proof. Okay, and now, again, moving on to I've talked about pay to fly, and I did a video recently on Australia and how Australian people are going to have to pay money and sit an exam and get registered and all that sort of stuff in order to fly their models. Just a quick follow-up on that. A lot of feedback on that video. Excellent. Thank you so much to everybody who took the time to put a comment on that video. I'm still going through them all. There's a lot of comments, and I'm going to go through and just form some consensus amongst that and try and make a presentation to CASA and get their feedback on what people are saying. But obviously, compliance is not going to be high in Australia because of the draconian measures that they're foisting on the RC flying community. You know, people don't see why they should have to do all this stuff when they've never been a problem. And yeah, but one of the things is pay to fly. If you don't pay your $20, you can't fly your models, right? Well, this is becoming increasingly common, but nowhere near as bad as in the city of Casey in Victoria, Australia. Now, a viewer sent me this link, put it on one of my videos. So if you haven't seen it already, the link is in the description of this video. Go and have a look at it, because what's happening in Casey is that they will let you fly your model in the parks. Isn't that fantastic? You can fly your radio-controlled models or your drones in the parks, even internal combustion engine versions, which is kind of unusual these days. I mean, nitro motor is pretty antisocial by modern standards, but no, as long as you've got a muffler, you can, and you're below 98 decibels, you can fly your drone in a park. However, there's a small fee. How small is small? Well, as well as having to pay your $20 to CASA and sit your exams and everything and register your models, the city of Casey in Victoria want you to pay a $120 non-refundable application fee and hold insurance worth $10 million, or pay another $50, making a total of $170 to fly a model in one of their parks. That is seriously outrageous. Now, the people who will be flying the models there, they already pay taxes to the local government. Why are they having to pay again? But the thing that made me laugh, and which really shows how out of touch these people who make these stupid rules and demand these stupid amounts of money are, shows you how out of touch they are with reality. One of the conditions for flying your 250 gram foamy in a park in Casey in Victoria is, as well as paying all this money, having all this insurance and everything, you've got to have a hard hat. Honestly, you can't fly a model unless you're wearing a hard hat. Never mind, as I say, so many people who know so little, making so many rules to control those who know so much more. It's lunacy. Let's stay in Australia for a moment. As many of my viewers have pointed out, Google is conducting drone delivery tests in Canberra, or Canberra, depending on where you come from, which is in the Australian Capital Territories. It's the capital city of Australia, and ACT is like it's a government area. So it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, all over Australia, regular folks are being pinged and penalised and fined for flying models, $20 a year if you want to fly your model, $170 a year if you want to do it in the city of Casey. And in Canberra, you're allowed to fly, well, Google is allowed to fly over people's houses, over people's heads, through suburbia. What the hell's going on there? And we're not talking about a 250 gram foamy in a park. No, we're talking about multi-kilogram, multi-rotors, and we're talking a lot of motors too. Their wing project's got lots of motors on it, flesh-eating propellers, allowed to fly these things in built-up areas. Well, hang on a minute, why can't I? At the same time, the little kid who's got his 251 gram foamy or little tiny drone wants to fly it in the backyard as of November is going to have to get his mother to supervise him, and his mother's going to have to pay the $20 and register his drone or his model and supervise him, sit the exam, all that sort of stuff. Yet Google, they can fly their big heavy delivery drones over your head all day if they want it. Well, not all day. There's it's only during daylight hours, I think, and certain hours. They can do it all the time, and that's despite apparently infringing a whole lot of regulations. There's been some publications in some Canberra news websites. One guy who is a former CAA, that's before CASA started, a former Australian airspace regulator, is complaining that they're not complying with the requirement to get noise clearance. So these noisy drones are flying overhead. People are getting really peed off with Google effectively flouting the rules by which everybody else has to, be controlled. Now, I can see both sides of the story. First of all, Google has probably gone through a very long and very torturous application process. They've produced all the paperwork that says we know what we're doing, and every risk has been identified and managed and mitigated and controlled, and we've got all these things in place. So we should be allowed to do what mere peasants can't do. I mean, that's the way it works in aviation. If you can come up with a convincing case and you can convince the regulators that what you're doing is safe, quite often you're allowed to break the rules. You get an exemption from the rules. Yeah. So that's what Google has done. However, what we don't know is what has Google promised the state of Canberra and the people involved in making the regulations. I mean, what inducements were offered to allow them to get these exemptions? I don't know. And it's kind of, Google has gone from being don't be evil to being we want every dollar we can get our fists around, and your life belongs to us because you use our services. So Google has changed a lot. I don't think I would trust Google quite so much today as I would have when it first started. And then when you mix Google and its less than savoury practices at times with a government, and we all know how governments work, you know, they're out, they'll take your money and they'll control you. When you mix those two together, you've got a nasty recipe for things happening. So that's, you know, that's what people are saying. The Google trials will continue. I don't know what you think of them, but obviously they've got to get out of jail free card effectively. And finally, in today's drone and RC model flying news, I've heard about this. There was a commercial in America, I think it's an insurance company. They did a commercial showing how dangerous drones are, flying a drone into a car windscreen. Someone sent me a link to the commercial, and I'm going to put the link in the description below, so you can go and have a look at this commercial. Quite funny. But again, vilifying drones. I mean, I think, was it Rotor Riot? I didn't actually watch the Rotor Riot video where they flew drones into car windscreens, but I don't think they penetrated. Certainly didn't get stuck in them. I think any drone that I've seen would bounce off a car. It might put a crack in it, I don't know, but it would certainly bounce off a car windscreen. It would not embed itself. So once again, we see fake information being used to sell stuff, to make money. People love making money, and they'll twist reality. They will use hyperbole. They will invent stuff. They'll tell lies if it means they can make an extra buck. Got to remember this. So I'm not telling any lies that I know of. Hopefully I'm bringing you the facts, which is all I can do. The only way we can counter fake news is to bring you real news. And that's what I hope I do. So I thank all the people who keep this channel going. There are links in the description if you want to know how they do that. I'm not going to say any more than that. And in the meantime, if you've got news tips, anything you want me to look at, then please, by all means, you can email to this address here, right? This is I check this address frequently, but not, or regularly, but not frequently. Let's put it that way. But I will check it again before the next video. So if there's anything that you think I should know about, or anything you want me to talk about or get my opinion on in a public forum like this, then please email to that and I will read it. There you go. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, thumbs up. And if you don't like the video, PewDiePie awaits. In the meantime, thanks for watching, guys. Oh, click the bell, subscribe, all that crap, stuff, I mean. Bye for now.